What is going on, everybody? A pip pip and a cheerio to you this fine Tuesday morning. Bringing you, I guess, a Evan Ranks ranking of a couple of random sports stuff. Saturday, for one, was UVA Lacrosse's season opener, if you will. They had a ranked matchup against Michigan. I'm going to talk about that one. I will briefly discuss Virginia Tech women's basketball as well. And then, of course, with a little bit of a hint as to the Super Bowl on Sunday night, I'll rank that game as well. So 3 different sort of sports events / teams. UVA Lacrosse and Virginia Tech women's basketball are 2 things. Granted, yes, UVA Lacrosse just started, but these 2 sports / teams have been an absolute pleasure to watch as a fan of sports and athletics. Hence why I'm doing a podcast on it. I mean, I'm not a big lacrosse guy. I'm starting to become one. As you know, there's always that unspoken rivalry of baseball players to lacrosse players. I was always the bridge between them both. I was a baseball player that looked like a lax bro. So I got respect for lacrosse. Watching the UVA game was amazing. I'm going to try to stay consistent with that. But first, I want to thank our sponsor, Walker's Home Services. We appreciate all that you do. Sponsoring the podcast, being a listener, being a guest. Couldn't do the show without you. So I appreciate your continued support. And if any of you guys have any work that needs doing around the house or simply know someone that might, always refer Walker's Home Services. Worst case, they call, get a quote, and don't do the job. But, hey, you're helping a local business try to get some more prospects and some more business. So we appreciate those guys over there. # to support local and Walker's Home Services. All right. UVA Lacrosse, guys. This was, like I said, an absolute amazing game to watch. This was the season opener for number 3 ranked UVA. They were playing number 11 ranked Michigan. And going into this game, it was just written in the stars to be a bloodbath, honestly. The Michigan head coach in his press conference the week leading up to it or the week after, I'm not sure when it was. It was before the matchup. But the Michigan head coach said, we play in the best conference in the country, and that ACC play is just a bunch of pretty boys. I think the exact line was like, we're a bunch of 6'4" gorillas ready to rip your face off. Well, there was one team that played like a bunch of 6'4" gorillas, and that was UVA. From the starting whistle to the final whistle, UVA dominated this game. Just kind of going into lacrosse, if you're not familiar, lacrosse is a game that uses a lot of footwork, fundamentals that way. It takes aspects of football, hockey, soccer, you name it. There's a bunch of different sports that go into it. Rugby. It's just a really cool sport, honestly. I like watching it because of, I think, honestly, the footwork of it. Like, you're not limited by dribbling a basketball. Like in basketball, you have to dribble that ball. Lacrosse, you have to cradle, but it's so easy for these guys that have been playing for, 15 plus years to just cradle and run with the ball. And you're using your feet to get past the defender and create shots for yourself. So it's super cool to see these freak athletes, just do things with their legs. In football, yeah, you can, but you got to worry about catching the ball. It just seems like it's a different aspect, in which I appreciate it. Excuse me. I appreciate this sport and respect it just because of the physicality of it, but also the strain that it takes on you. You're running up and down this field for a long duration of the game. Defenders are running on offense if they get a fast break. Offense is sometimes running back on defense to stop a fast break. You name it. All this happens. Let's focus a little bit more on the game itself. So started out, of course, it's the first game of the season, but UVA looked to struggle a little bit on offense. Michigan as well, trying to find a footing, get those first game jitters out of the way. UVA struck first. one of their, I believe it was Joey Terenzi. He had a hell of a first goal. Ended up running down the field after Nunes got the save. Nunes is the keeper or the goalie for the lacrosse team, but he got the save, passed it up to Terenzi, and he faked a pass to Schellenberger and just cranked it and went for a goal. We were up 1-0. Looking at the box score, Connor Schellenberger scored the second goal, and then freshman McCabe Millen scored the third goal. They were then up 3, and Michigan answered with a goal of their own. Then another 3 goals come from UVA. Then another Michigan goal, then another 3 UVA goals. So UVA is already dominating. And from the start of this whistle, it was a physical game. Like I mentioned, the word bloodbath came to mind early. Like, dudes were flying all over the screen, hustling, making big defensive plays. I mean, UVA's offense and Michigan's offense were slow to start, but UVA's defense just picked it up like they were playing Notre Dame in the Final Four last year. I mean, they were picking up bodies. And yeah, it helps when the other team calls you a bunch of pretty boys. And, Lars Tiffany over here at UVA has created a dynasty. Like, just to focus on that, he's coming off of what is it? A Final Four appearance. They might have won the ACC. They lost a lot. They lost a lot of older guys. This is a younger team. Something fun to watch. But Lars Tiffany, he's been there since 2017. He actually did go back-to-back in national championships with UVA. It was 2019. COVID happened in 2020, and then they got another win back-to-back in 2021. So he has created a sound lacrosse program there. We're getting recruits left and right. McCabe Millen was one of those guys, really talented freshman coming in. I don't know much about lacrosse, like players itself. I know Schellenberger just because he's been there for this is his 4th year. But none of the new guys. Like, in lacrosse isn't a big, heavy sport in which, it's on your phone. You're getting updates about the recruiting classes. Like, I know some and I could follow it, but just not my cup of tea. I enjoy just watching UVA and getting, personally acquainted with the team right now. I'm learning new faces, watching the game, trying to learn the game itself, because there are a lot of aspects that I'm not, too familiar with. Like, watching this game early on, a lot of the offense from UVA was picks. Yeah, like a basketball pick. Guy would, run around. You can run around the goal in lacrosse, similar to hockey. You can body people like hockey, tackle like football in a way, but yeah, dudes were just running around, and our offense, they were sacrificing, making a pick on a Michigan player to free up some space. Like, in lacrosse, you really just need that extra, like, arm length to be able to whop that stick down and, I don't know, just score goals. But it was a super great game. Like I said, when you're a fan of a sport, my buddy Bobby is a big UVA lacrosse fan. He grew up playing lacrosse, played lacrosse in high school, and I think when you did do that, like, you already have a sort of fond nature to the sport. You understand how the game works, how the rules work, the players, you're more familiar with them. But, like, as an outsider fan watching in, like, I just like UVA, and nothing was on TV, so it's like, shit, dude, we're ranked 3rd in the country. Like, this has to be a good game. So I tune it in, and it is physical. Like I said, people are literally being knocked on their butt. There was almost a fight. I'll get to that in a minute, but, like, that's just fun to watch for me. Like, people getting beat the crap out of it, especially when it's not UVA and they're dealing the beating to apparently a bunch of, pretty boys over there at Michigan. Like, I don't know if you guys have done the polar plunge, but you might want to try just to gain some cojones back after this past weekend. But yeah, like I said, there was a kerfuffle. I really do like that word, kerfuffle. So McCabe Millen, who ended up with 5 total goals, beast. Like, this was his freshman game, his first game at UVA, and he ended up scoring 5 goals. Like, this kid was a menace to Michigan's defense. But he ultimately scored. So, like, a lot of the goals are running goals, and a lot of times you are running toward a defender. Well, he was running toward the defender. He shot, he scored, and the defender had, like, a little bit of a late hit, which is legal in lacrosse. Like, he's already in his motion, and then he happened to shoot and score. So it was a clean hit, but it was high and it was a little late. So Millen got knocked down. He got right back up, like, snap of the fingers. But guess who's freaking there defending him right off the bat? Connor Schellenberger, the senior. This is what I love to watch. Like, just as a UVA fan, you're already sort of, personally attached to the team. So seeing a young guy take a hit like that, and then his veteran captain over here walks up and is like, this ain't happening, dude. Like, had a bone to pick with that other guy, and Millen actually ended up like swerving around. This is why I love lacrosse, because the refs just kind of like let it all happen unless it gets too bad, in which this was one of those cases. But he like walked over, like started chirping in the guy's ear, and then the dude ended up like walking away, but then doing like a U-turn and came up and like headbutted him. They both ended up getting penalties. I guess Millen ended up saying some harsh words. I could only imagine what he said, like something completely out of pocket that probably shouldn't have been said. So I'm not going to complain about that penalty, but it's great to see, the camaraderie of this team already, being that they're 50-50 split of experienced guys who've been within the program, and then these guys who literally are on their first game with us. I know, they practiced all year. They've been going to school together all year, but it was cool to actually see in the first game that camaraderie. I talked about picks and offense. Talk about some of the goals, man. Just looking at this, I explained the Terenzi goal. We ended up closing the first half. Peyton Cormier is another name that we're looking at. So there's about 4 people, maybe 5, including the goalie, that you should kind of take note of for this year. What is his name? I'm going to have to look it up. But so Peyton Cormier, Connor Schellenberger, McCabe Millen, Noons, I'm not sure what his actual name is. And then let's see here, Virginia Lacrosse roster. Because so ultimately we're led by 2 seniors, one on offense, one on defense. Schellenberger is, of course, that guy on offense, senior. And then the other guy, where are you at, buddy? Cole Kastner. He's a senior as well on defense, and I was super impressed with this guy. Kind of getting back into where I was, and I'll filter back over to talking about him. Cormier. So closed out the first half with a little pass to him and a flare shot. He's a little bit bigger of a guy, kind of just stands on the outside of the crease, like waiting for an open pass for him to just do a quick rip at the goal. But ended up scoring with 1 second left. So we're up big, 6-1 at the end of the first quarter. They do have 4 total quarters. So it is a little bit of a longer game, but like I said earlier on, it was 3 goals UVA, 1 Michigan, 3 UVA, 1 Michigan. So we were scoring like very easily. McCabe Millen ended up making this look like a walk in the park. He had a goal where he ended up like just doing a little shimmy or like a hesitation. So like I said, you're running. So he kind of, did like a halt and then like he dead sprinted to the goal, and before he got into the crease, he just launched himself over it and like shot midair and had a goal. He ended up finishing with 5. Cormier had 5. I believe Schellenberger finished with 2. But like I said, just an overall great performance. Defensively, outside of them being super physical, Kastner had great plays. I'm going to try to explain this, and I tried to explain it to Josh, and I kind of just felt stupid. But, like, it was almost like he was giving the offensive guy on Michigan the chance to beat him solely so he could get an angle on the ball in his lacrosse stick. Like, the guy would be running, and he'd go and he'd try to like shoot. And I guess if you're watching the YouTube video, you can see how stupid I look trying to make this motion. But he would like literally pry his stick in between the guy's like shooting arm and his opponent's lacrosse stick itself, and then just like crank the ball out. I don't know how else to explain it. Look up his defensive highlights this game. It was truly like poetry in motion to watch. So really did enjoy that defensive side of things outside of the big hits. Another cool goal to be able to see, and this is what we're all kind of watching for. Like Millen's midair shot was, what was his name? I think it was Boyden. Yeah, Jack Boyden. He actually ended up having a behind the back goal. So he shot from throwing it behind his back. I thought that was pretty cool as well. Ultimately finishing the game 19-11. Noons, the keeper, had a lot of high quality goals, a lot of high quality stops, saves, if you will. I'm trying to see what his first name is. Matthew Nunes. Dude, honestly, this guy was super talented. I mean, it's hard. Like, we always compare baseball being hard because it's such a small ball coming at you at, 90 something miles an hour. This is a little cross ball, and you're standing in a goal, and it's coming at you at like 100 miles an hour, but you have to use your body and your stick to block the ball. That sounds pretty hard. Only allowed 11 goals the entire game. I thought that was pretty talented. But yeah, man, I'm going to rank this game. I thought it was super awesome. I would strongly encourage all of you guys to give it a try and watch lacrosse. I'm giving this a 9.5. Please watch that defense beat the crap out of their next team. It's just, like I said, enjoyable to watch. But I'm going to move on. I talked about that a lot longer than I thought I did, but I'm excited for the lax season, guys. Y'all should be too. Lacrosse! Sorry, there were some dudes in high school that would always do that. Like, they played lacrosse, and like us baseball players kind of make fun of it. Like, oh, Saul, dude, lacrosse. And I just thought of that. Something I also remember too is like really random, but Dylan and I one Christmas asked our dad for lacrosse sticks. I guess because we thought it was like cool. Never used them. Don't know what happened to them, but I tried to be a lacrosse bro one time. Didn't work out clearly. But yeah, Virginia Tech women's basketball, guys. This is equally as exciting as the Virginia lacrosse game. I know it's difficult for us UVA fans to get excited to talk about Tech. However, have you watched these ladies play? It is some of the best fundamental basketball I have ever watched. It's Georgia Moore and Elizabeth Kitley, and then another girl named Kayla King. Those three are super athletic. Kayla King is a three-point specialist. Georgia Moore is a Australian guard, so she sort of got that Ricky Rubio flair. Super good ball handling, great passer, and Elizabeth Kitley is like a 6'8" girl that can shoot perimeter, has good footwork down in the paint, and essentially their offense is a pick and a pop. Georgia Moore has the ball up top. They'll either filter all the other three players to one side and they'll like ISO the pick and pop on the left, or she'll just box up down low. No one can stop it. She comes up, she screens for Amore, D shifts over, she pops out, pass, shot, make, and they've just been cruising all season long. Like I said, it's just enjoyable to watch, just fundamental basketball be played, because watch a NBA game, watch a SEC game, or like like Michigan or someone like that. Like, these men's college basketball games are getting a little out of hand. Like, running up the court, shooting a three, missing, running back down, turning over the ball, running back down the court, shooting, and like, it's just chuck up shots and hope they go in. Women's basketball right now is attempting to gain respect and essentially, try to get the media to start talking about them, showing more games on national television, getting people excited about it. I mean, Caitlin Clark's doing a great job, but this Tech team has convinced me. Like, I was big into watching women's basketball at the end of last year during March Madness, but frankly, I haven't found any other sport or basketball game that has been more enjoyable to watch than Virginia Tech women's basketball. I think these girls, included in the entire not ACC, but NCAA, all these girls have a ton of stuff to play for. Yeah, they're trying to play to get drafted and go to the WNBA and not have to have a 9-to-5 job. But they're also playing for their voice. They're playing for equal representation in sports. And I think it's awesome. I really don't see any difference between men and women basketball aside from the dunking. But when you're just sticking to the fundamentals of like a pick and roll offense, it is so enjoyable to just watch it not be able to be stopped. It's kind of like the tush push what the Eagles do. Like, you see the person come and screen, you're like, oh, you better get back on defense because they're going to score. Georgia Moore is super talented to watch too. Like, Emma Rose and I have low-key been crushing hard on this team. Just like, they're super fun to watch. They all seem like great girls. Emma Rose has like stalked them all on Instagram. So like, they got the personalities in which you're kind of rooting for them. Like, it's a good feel-good story. It's a Virginia team that's winning. I personally like this women's basketball team more than UVA's. Yes, I said that out loud on the podcast. I'm still a who till I die. I'll root for UVA when they play them. However, this has just been a really fun group of girls to watch play basketball. So, Evan Ranks, Virginia Tech women's basketball, they're going to make a run in the tournament. They're going to probably win the ACC. Herb Brooks is a geek to watch, coach, interact with his players. Like, I love the dynamic of him and his point guard, Georgia Amore. During like free throws, she'll run over to him, and she is just an extension of him on the court. She's always looking over there for the play call. And clearly they're doing something right because they just can't be stopped right now. They're playing really good basketball, and Evan ranks them a 9. Watch them play basketball, please. You will not be disappointed, I promise. Give it a shot. Super Bowl. I got a little bit of time here to talk about the Super Bowl, but severely underwhelming, man. I was rooting for the 49ers. I'm a little bit tired of I don't know, man. I hate to say that I'm losing respect for Travis Kelce, but like here recently, he's kind of really gotten on my nerves from the emotional flare-up with Andy Reid on the sideline to I think he really put me off with the Justin Tucker stuff. Like, yeah, he was being a bit of an a-hole, like kicking on your side when he could have gone around doing that. And like he was clearly doing it to try to get in y'all's head, and it didn't work. But I don't think Justin Tucker's doing that maliciously. You tossing his helmet on the side kind of made me mad, and ultimately why I didn't want you guys to win the Super Bowl. I'm tired of seeing you win. I don't think Taylor Swift is bad for the NFL. I don't have any problems with Taylor Swift. No beef there. I did get a little frustrated. It is the Super Bowl, and however many stars are out, you're just going to show her and Ice Spice the entire time. I want to see everybody that's, out there flashing their fits for the Super Bowl. Show me Kristen Juszczyk. Kyle Juszczyk had a freaking great catch on a third down play. There weren't as many explosive plays as I thought there'd be, which is kind of why I think it was an underwhelming Super Bowl. Run game never got established on both sides. And frankly, that last quarter, the fourth quarter going into overtime, was just bad. Honestly, it made it look scripted. Like, you're sitting there watching it, and Brock Purdy's good. The offense is good. Their defense was crazy. R.I.P. Greenlaw for tearing his ACL trying to celebrate or go onto the field for a substitution. That hurt to watch. But it just wasn't a great game, and you saw him run down the field in overtime, kick a field goal, claim that they didn't really know that the Super Bowl had different playoff rules. And once they kicked that field goal, I was sitting there, I was like, that's it. This story couldn't have been written any better. Down at halftime, come back, grind out a win. Both teams struggle. It just wasn't a good Super Bowl. Commercials were shit too. I would frankly give this Super Bowl a 4. I wanted it to be way more explosive. I wanted to see like a 70-yard run or a punt return or a Hail Mary that was nicely caught. Like, there wasn't much to get excited about this game, and that's why it gets a 6, man. Maybe if my Ravens were in it, it'd be better, but I was not impressed with this year's Super Bowl. I'm sure a lot of you guys probably were. I think the highlight of the Super Bowl was Usher. Yeah. But, yeah. Stranger of the Day, baby. This is going to be a good one. I've kind of forgotten about Stranger of the Day in a couple of different podcasts here recently, and I need to get back on the Stranger of the Day grind because it is a fun segment. I just sometimes struggle to pick strangers because sometimes they're not strangers. They're like clients of mine from work, and I feel weird shouting them out on the podcast. So I try to think of other people and other strangers that I could use. Today, the stranger of the day is going to go to... How about this? All right, yesterday, stranger of the day is going to Drew Pace. He's a stranger to me. I've watched this man musically play a handful of times, and I'm a fan. I think he's a pretty good musician. I actually had the chance to chat with him after he performed at Bold Rock. A hell of a guy, real down to earth. He kind of looks like Harrison and Ethan Anderson combined. I know, weird, but Stranger of the Day is going to Drew Pace. Dude, keep doing what you're doing, and I'm sure you're going to end up in Nashville and you'll end up getting big. Cheers to you. Cheers to our listeners for listening through this whole podcast on your way to work. I hope you enjoyed the rankings and my sports rundown from the weekend. There will be more. Might actually have a guest coming on this week. I've had a lot of people reach out. I'm trying to filter some sort of schedule to get people on. I have some really good guests coming up, and there's going to be some really enjoyable podcasts. So tune in for those, and can't thank you guys enough for being loyal wankers. So pip, pip, cheerio, and have a great day. I will see you all in the next one.